And then if there's any untreated or continual mental health problems, such as, let's take explosive anger. Anger is one of those things that can really destroy a relationship, and it can get out of control with violence. It can get out of control with verbal and emotional aggression. None of that is helpful. If you have that issue, if you tend to have that, please look at how you can work on your own anger management. I do have another webinar on that. I also have a book that you could order that I used for my anger management group for 20 years. Please be willing to look at that, as well as if you have an alcohol or drug problem. You know, this can tear a relationship apart. Be willing to, challenge yourself enough to change that behavior. If you are depressed, or if your partner is depressed, it's often hard to connect with them because they're kind of in their own world of depressed mood, and often don't have the motivation to do a lot of things or connect emotionally. So that can be something. Maybe medication will help. Therapy might help. What can you do that will help? If you're overly stressed, I see so many people who are overly stressed with work right now. And I think that's because so many businesses aren't necessarily hiring as many people as they need to because of budget concerns. And so the people that are left there are overly stressed and overly pressured. And so if that's you, find ways to relax, work on that. And your anxiety, if it's out of control, if you're panicky, if you're losing sleep, work on that and get help for relaxation and anxiety control. Other family problems can also interfere. If you have an extended family and there's problems in that extended family, oftentimes that can separate a couple. Financial issues often are a problem that people are dealing with, and maybe one is a spender, one is a saver. You got a problem right there. You got to talk about it. Okay? Are there discipline problems with the kids? Are there disagreements about just about anything? Moving, where are the kids going to go to school? House projects. Anytime there is house renovation or major house construction, I see people all the time who are saying, this has just been so hard on us. It's almost tearing us apart. So be careful. And since the pandemic, I'm seeing more people that are being torn apart by political differences as well as belief differences, say in vaccines, masking, whatever. So, there could be just about anything that pulls you apart. What are you willing to do? How much effort are you willing to do with yourself, first of all, to get rid of these destructive influences? And I always start with this with people, because if you add all these wonderful things to a relationship, but you don't take out the destructive stuff, it's not going to help, because people remember those destructive things a lot more, and they hurt more, and they just pull you away. So that's why I start with this. And so now we take a breath and we think about, how can we build a romantic relationship between the two of us? What can we do? And I think this question at the bottom is just so important. How can I be a better partner to you? What can I do? That takes some humility to be able to ask somebody that. And it took me a while before I was willing to do that, because I thought I was doing everything right. But it does take time. It takes time away from work, time away from the kids, to actually sit down and talk. It takes some energy, some motivation, and it is ongoing. I've been married for over 40 years. I'm still working on mine. I'm still working on me, how I can be a better person in my marriage. Okay. And luckily, and what a blessing that my husband is also working on his part. And so that's what it takes. Now we're going to talk about the opposite type of communication. What is constructive. What can you do? And we're going to take it really slow. We're going to go back and we're going to talk about what is important for communication. And if people would really look at this in their own lives and pay attention to the basics, there would be so much difference in a relationship. I cannot tell you. So I'm going to go through these just a little bit because they are so important. How important these days is undistracted attention. Without the phone in front of you, without the computer in front of you. How many of us are stuck on our phones and our computers, and that is destroying relationships? Be willing to put that away for a short time, to communicate, to say, hi, how are you doing? I care about you, okay? And face each other. And my husband and I are older now, so, oftentimes we're yelling at each other from different rooms. Be in the same room when you're trying to talk to each other. It does help. And I've also found that keeping your head out of the freezer or the refrigerator helps at the same time. If you're talking to the refrigerator, it's not listening. To be able to focus on what that other person is saying. When you're listening, this is attentive listening. How easy it is to be thinking in your own head about your own agenda, what you need to do next, instead of really putting your own agenda aside and really thinking, what is this person trying to say to me? This person that I care about is trying to communicate something important. Maybe I don't think it's important. Maybe I think it's even stupid. It's not even worthwhile, but to me, but it is to him. It is to her. I need to listen to that. And you listen to understand what the other person is trying to say. Sometimes they don't even say what they're trying to say. Sometimes they're talking and talking and talking. Maybe you can kind of sense that they're really frustrated. They're really angry. And so you can say that back to them in a positive way when you respond. Boy, it sounds like you're really angry about this. I'm sorry that this is affecting you. That's responding with empathy. Okay. And try really hard to not interrupt. It's so hard, but it's so important to be able to stop what you think you need to say, especially if it's in the middle of somebody else's stuff. And you might have to, if the other person is talking a lot, you might have to say, could I just say something? Would you be willing to listen to my side of it? And that's okay. So try not to work that way, but try to work on yourself, your own nonverbals. What are your eyes saying? Are your eyes soft or are they hard? Are you scowling at them? What are you doing? Okay. And to act interested, even if you're not really interested, can you try to act that way? Act as if you're interested. You might have to ask questions to clarify. Can you just share a little bit more about what you're talking about so I can try to understand? I didn't read that book, so I don't know. And then when you're responding, to be respectful with your words. So you might, have all this stuff in your mind. You're thinking, I just don't have time to listen to this. I don't really care about what you're saying. But try really hard not to say that kind of stuff. To be able to say, could we talk another time later? That would be easier for me to listen to you. And maybe you're all upset. Maybe you need to calm down first before you really are able to listen to that other person. Watch your tone. I have so many couples coming to me saying, that other person just has a terrible tone when he talks to me. Watch your own tone. Use I statements. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Make requests, not demands. Nobody likes to be demanded. Nobody wants demands. They want requests are a little bit easier. We're going to talk about that too. And to show interest when you are responding. So this is basics, but very important. Look at what you do or what you don't do here that could be helpful or destructive. And just like any course in communication or anything else that you've taken, oftentimes the first thing you do with the second sequence in the course is you review from the first course.